This is something just to help you wind down, to release adrenaline, and just to create a little bit of an alleviation on pressure, downward pressure you might have accumulated during the day. So first of all, getting into Viparita Karani, which can either be against the wall, or you can put your legs just over the edge of a couch or over the edge of a chair. To get into it, put your hip against the wall, roll down and put your legs up. It's really nice to have, I've got a yoga bolster here, but just a firm pillow or two underneath the pelvis is absolutely fine. Now, because I'm in this inversion, it does several things. It takes the weight of the pelvic organs off the pelvic floor. So if you have got prolapse or if you are experiencing stress incontinence, it's a wonderful way just to let everything soften away from the pelvic floor. Any heaviness will just start to be alleviated. Also, if you've got varicose veins or just find that your feet are all swollen at the end of the day, having them up like this will just drain that tension and that fluid away from your feet. So nice to do some big circles with the ankles, one direction and then the other. And then start to stretch into the hamstrings. So leave one foot against the wall and take the other foot up and rub the back of your legs, rub into those hamstrings. We've got this passive release through the pelvic floor happening while we're doing this. If you turn your foot ever so slightly so the heel is facing your opposite shoulder and move the foot just a little bit across the body, you'll get that sciatic nervy stretch, which is really nice as well. So just moving the leg around to stretch it, and then place the ankle on top of the other knee, bend the knee so you get a stretch into the glutes here and into the hips. If you gently press the thigh away, so just above the knee, if you gently sort of pull the flesh and stretch outwards, you'll get a deep rotator stretch here right around the hip joint, which can be wonderful if you've got achy hips. So stretching on one side, press your pelvis back into your pillow or into your bolster, and let your belly be really soft here. So encourage your breath to go into your lower belly, into the pelvic floor area, down into the hips, down into the buttocks. So we are trying to consciously down train, release the pelvic floor muscles and the muscles around, the stabilizing muscles around the pelvic floor. So doing that on the other side, pressing the heel away from you, rubbing the back of the leg, getting a bit of warmth into those hamstrings, which might have just become very tight from standing all day, turning the heel to face the opposite shoulder, and you can stay doing this for as long as it feels nice. So I like to get a bit of heat, just keep turning the heel, so we rub the outside of the leg here, and then back just along the IT band and then into the hamstrings. And make sure that you're not just letting your foot be floppy, you're actively pushing out through the heel and pulling your toes back. And then placing that ankle on top of the knee. Once again, if you take your thumb and pull your thigh outwards slightly, just above the knee, you're going to get a much deeper rotation here at the hip joint, and you're just going to find it relieves hip pain. So it's a really nice way to create a bit of movement into the hips. So relieving hips and gluteal muscles and upper thigh, like so. And then taking your feet wider, so we start to stretch into these adductor muscles, the inner thigh muscles that lead into the pelvic floor. And you want to just spend 5 to 10 breaths where you are deeply relaxing, lower belly soft, pelvic floor is soft, and we're in the slight inversion, so you're going to find that your exhalation becomes extended anyway, and that is how we go into that rest and digest, that parasympathetic nervous system. Nice long exhalation. The pause at the end of the exhalation, increasing the length of the exhalation. So we're just passively down training, relaxing, and if you're able to stay here for a good 5 to 10 minutes, that's ideal. So maybe just pausing this and spending a bit more time here. I like to stretch out through the heels as well. So maybe just pushing out the heels so you get a deeper stretch through those inner thigh muscles. And if you wanted to add in a little bit of core work, you can use your exhalation to draw the feet towards each other. So no pressure through the pelvic floor here. We're exhaling, we get a natural lift through the pelvic floor into these deep core muscles, a little bit of activation through core and pelvic floor and the inner thigh muscles. We're doing this all on inversion, so a really nice passive way to strengthen and also release muscles. Now take your feet back onto the wall and take your bolster or your pillows away so that we come more into a tabletop. So just feet flat on the wall here, and no doubt if you've been standing all day you will have a bit of crunchiness in the lower back. So a really nice way just to massage into your spine, into the lower back, is to press the feet, especially through the heels, into the wall and just glide yourself up. So you're massaging up the spine and back down again. Now if you do this on an exhale as you come up, we're also getting this natural vacuum through the pelvic organs, through the pelvic floor. So exhaling up, inhaling down, and as you come down we massage through into the sacrum and really release the gluteal muscles. So coming up and down, massaging into the spine, and it can be nice just to stay up as well. Put a bit of pressure through the upper back area, flatten out that cervical spine, push your shoulders right down into the ground. A little bit of activation here through those gluteal muscles, and then back down again. So I'm going to slowly come away from the wall and get my bolster. You might need to get pillows and also a blanket to place underneath your head. Turning myself around, I'm just going to lie back so that from the base of the rib cage upwards is lifted and shoulders can drop down away from ears. So we're doing once again a passive stretch, this time across these pectoral muscles. So if you've been doing a lot of lifting or forward movement, these chest muscles can get very tight and can inhibit your ability to breathe properly. So I've got myself into Supta Baddha Konasana here, this reclined bound angle pose. If this stretch is too much on the groin, it's perfectly fine to have your feet wide and your knees bent. But if this is all right for you, this also gives us a passive stretch into a release into the psoas muscles that go right into the lower back here. So gravity just allows these muscles to soften. We soften right through the front of the body, and we get this passive stretch through the chest. See if you can focus your breath here underneath the armpits into those intercostal muscles between the ribs. And once again, stretch the breath. And long, smooth exhalation. And maybe you want to pause here and just spend 5 minutes focusing on the breath and focusing on allowing the body to open, to get this passive extension through the spine and this ability to allow the diaphragm to really work to get the breath into the body. So this is a nice way to also just be very mindful of how your whole body is feeling, to soften the mind and to get full sort of massaging breath down into the digestive system as well as your pelvic organs. A very relaxing pose. So staying here for a little while, focusing on releasing the jaw, soft breath in the lower belly. And then when you're ready to come out of this, just rolling over to one side and coming and sitting. I'm going to show you how to adduct your hip joint here and just activate the gluteal muscles. So this is also a nice one if you're starting to get sciatic pain from standing too much. Your legs are zigzagged over to one side. Imagine the crown of the head is being lifted up towards the ceiling, so you have this passive stretch through the vertebra of the spine. Shoulders are nice and relaxed. And all you do is you squeeze the bottom, the gluteal muscle at the back. So this is my right glute. I'm squeezing it to roll the hip forward and then releasing it. So squeezing to roll the hip and then release. We're adducting forward and then back again. So what we're doing is we're also taking gluteus maximus, lifting it off the piriformis. So if you are getting any pinchy, nervy pain down the side of your leg, this can be wonderful to alleviate that pain. And I'm going to keep that twist going here. So I've got a nice stretch through the psoas here, activation through the glute, knees pressing into the ground. Now give yourself an upper back twist. So just twisting to look over your shoulder. Wonderful to relieve a bit of tension through the thoracic spine here. Lifting up through the crown of the head, smooth breath in, and then the releasing breath out. Good. And then come onto that on the other side. Maybe take your knees across in a window washing kind of action that will relieve the big sartorius muscles that go from the inner knee all the way up into the hip here. Just a nice little bit of mobilization through the lower back, and then doing that zigzag on the other side, focusing now my left glute, your right glute probably, squeezing to roll forward and then releasing, squeezing to roll forward and releasing. And you just visualize that ball and socket joint here mobilizing as the pelvis goes forward. You feel a lovely stretch into those hip flexors. For a lot of us, they get very, very tight. So forward like that, pressing into the knee, lifting up and around in order to create that twist, massaging twist. Lovely, coming back into the center. And then before you finish, just let your head go, drop down, big circles, and just feel as if you're massaging tension out of your neck and shoulders. So start to let your shoulders roll as well, consciously releasing this area where hypertension seems to start, and then get a grip on the other direction. Big rolls through the head and through the upper back. Wonderful. And then lateral stretch, up with one arm, drop the shoulder away from the ear, so you're literally pulling down through the shoulder blade here, up and over, breathing underneath the armpit into those intercostal muscles. Big breath in, and then other side. Stretching right out from a hip to your fingers, and again, the lateral stretch on both sides. The spine loves to laterally stretch. Very nice. And then I like just to stretch into the back of the shoulders, arm across the body, lock it into place with the other arm, drop the shoulders away from the ears, pressing out with this extended arm, pulling in with this arm here, and then take the head across towards your fingers, so the stretch goes from the neck right down into the upper part of the shoulder here. So deep breath, releasing breath. And then open the heart, pull the fingertips back, stretch these pectoral muscles across the chest, squeeze the shoulder blades together, and then do that on the other side, crossing the arm, pulling the shoulder blade down, lock the arm into position, pressing out, pulling in, and then take the head across for that stretch into the neck. Release the lower jaw as you exhale. Fantastic. And then I hope you get a good rest. Namaste.